The 805 Focus is brought to you in part by Nonprofit Connect. Nonprofit Connect provides superior leadership tools and resources so nonprofit leaders and board members can make valuable decisions to move their organization forward to a sustainable and vibrant future. More information on services online at nonprofitconnect.org.
Welcome to 805 Focus. I'm Dr. Cynder Sinclair with Nonprofit Connect, and we will be bringing you the latest on your favorite nonprofits. So get ready to be inspired. Our special guest today is Kostis Protopapas, and Kostis is the Artistic and General Director of Opera Santa Barbara. Welcome, Kostis.
Thank you, Cynder.
Thank you so much for being with us
Thanks
today.
for inviting me.
And so, Opera Santa Barbara, you folks are very busy these days.
Very busy.
And we'd love to hear all about what you're doing, what you're up to.
Well, we this season we are presenting 5 operas. You know, before 2020, we normally had a season of 3 operas per season. But now, after the reopening, we decided to mix things up a little bit. We wanted the reopening to be a time where we invite more people into our theaters, that we connect with more people, and to do more diverse programming. So this has been a season of many departures. We're doing some of the traditional things that our longtime patrons are used to, but we're also doing a lot of new and exciting things that hopefully are going to touch many new audiences as well.
Wow. So do you think that COVID was partially responsible for that change, or what do you attribute that?
Yes. The post-reopening, we're still operating in an uncertain environment.
True.
Which, and there's a lot of different uncertainties. Now seems to be that things are going well in terms of public health, but when we're planning the season, we wanted to be prepared for any changes in the environment, and most importantly, to be prepared to for those patrons who might not quite be ready to come to the theater yet, or who might feel more comfortable in an environment that is not, they don't have to be there for as long, or they don't have to be as close together. So we designed the season first that we decided that the first part of the season, and the last show of the season, it was going to be shorter works, so there's no intermission. One of the things that people were discussing about the possible return to theaters was that, and some people asked me many times during the pandemic, said, so I feel for you guys, because who's going to come sit in the opera for 3 hours? Well, although many classic operas are 3 hours, not all operas are. So this year we've already done 2 operas that are under 90 minutes, and we have 2 more coming up until we do our first full grand opera at the end of the season. So we started with that. It has to be short. Fewer people on stage and in the orchestra pit, again, because our workforce also needs some time getting used to going back to work, and also wanted to shorten the rehearsal periods a little bit. In other words, minimize the risks, whether those are real or perceived. So in the quest of doing shorter works, a whole new world of opportunities opened up about works that pre-pandemic, it was kind of hard to fit in a season. But now this reopening is an opportunity to explore more things. So we wanted to go forward. We didn't want to go back. We wanted to break ground with new things. So as a result, we're busier than before.
Wow. That is so inspiring. So here you were, listening to your audience, listening to the folks that perform,
yes,
and their families,
yes,
and really looking at the COVID challenges as opportunities.
Exactly.
And you embraced that, and out of it came all of this new creativity.
That's very well put, because we did spend the time between March 2020 and June 2021, staying in very close touch with our audience and with our workforce.
Oh, okay.
We sort of, from the very beginning, we decided that although theaters might be closed for a while, or the ways in which we'll communicate might change a little bit, we decided that we're not shutting down, and we decided that we don't stop working. So as a result, we were the first performing arts organization in Santa Barbara to offer streaming programming as early as April 8, 2020. But also very quickly, we decided that streaming programming wasn't enough. There's no substitute for live music, and there's absolutely no reason why live music can't happen safely. So as a result of continuously reinventing ourselves, listening to our audience, listening to our workforce, looking at the data, we ended up being only one of 2 opera companies in California that presented a 3 live opera season. We had our first live performance in December of 2020, and we did that safely at the drive-in at Concerts in Your Car.
Oh, gosh.
That was very well received. Then in March, we did another opera. Actually, in April 2020, we did another opera in the Concerts in Your Car, and we did our first in-theater live performance on June 28th in the Lobero Theater, less than 2 weeks after the governor lifted the restriction to theaters. And I have to credit my board of directors and my staff for not having wasted a day. We didn't put mothballs on anything. We weren't ready. We were ready to start at any time, and we did.
Gosh,
so,
is quite a
however,
story.
that gave us a lot of experience because we did this during the thick of the pandemic. We did it when we had to have plexiglass shields and we had to have everybody masked in rehearsals. And so we learned a lot. It was not easy to do that, but we learned a lot, and most importantly, we and our audience and our workforce developed confidence that live music can happen safely if you take the right measures.
Oh, gosh. And use your imagination and your creativity and just keep moving.
Exactly. So after so many changes and uncertainty and the new variants and opening and reclosing, we wanted to make sure that we structure a season that would be affected as little as possible by any sudden change, either in regulations or in perceptions or in from a public health standpoint. So we decided we were just trying to do more and smaller.
Gosh, and it'll be interesting to hear the audience reaction to the shorter ones.
Yes.
And then when you say a grand opera, that means the 3 hours.
We don't do a lot of 3-hour operas these days anymore. We try to keep it at 2.5.
Oh, okay.
Now, I would like to go ahead and say here that not only, there's the proverbial industry joke that life is short and opera is long, but
I haven't heard that.
That's pretty common among the business. Funny. But the new James Bond movie was 2 hours and 45 minutes. So if it's good, people are going to sit and watch it. I did.
Yeah.
So our final production of this season, La Traviata, is going to be 2.5 hours long. Oh. It's going to have a large orchestra, large chorus, dancers, and all that on the Granada stage.
Oh.
But until then, we are doing what we call more, chamber, more intimate works.
That is great. And so, will that be at the Granada too, or when you say more intimate?
Well, we started this season with at the Granada with a mariachi opera that had a mariachi band on stage, and it was something completely new for all of us. It's a very successful piece. It's done all over the country. It's a story of immigrants, and it's written by one of the giants of mariachi music, Jose Pepe Martinez. We had one of the best mariachi bands in the world, Mariachi Los Camperos, and it was a huge hit, especially since this was, I think, with the exception of 1 or 2 events of limited scope last summer, this was the first time that audience came into the Granada for a full spectacle, if you will. And people had such a great time. Los Camperos offered a set of half an hour of the greatest hits, and people were singing along and clapping and dancing and all that. So it was a great way to bring everybody back and put people at ease about being back at the Granada. And then our next, we just had a show last weekend, and we have 2 more, one in January and one in March, that all 3 of them are going to be in the Lobero Theater.
Oh, okay, all right. Which
is more intimate. It lends itself more to smaller shows, and it emphasizes the relationship of audience with performer. It's somehow, when you're in a smaller theater, you're in the action as opposed to being detached from it. So we just did a show that was a double bill of one short opera and one short ballet in collaboration with State Street Ballet.
Wow, that's a great idea.
It was our Halloween program. It had to do with the ballet was about a woman who dances with her husband's ghost, and the opera was kind of tough and tragic about a husband who kills his wife's lover, like it happens in so many operas, right? That's another day at the office. So, and then we're doing a Baroque opera, our company's first Baroque opera, which is going to be in English. It's by Handel, of course, the great composer of The Messiah, who wrote a lot of operas. And we are doing a version that is 85 minutes long. It's sort of pandemic design, because done by Pittsburgh Opera Theater last spring already. But it was designed to be compact, without intermission, and it's a comedy that sets a story that is inspired by ancient Greek myth. It sets it to 1920s Hollywood. So that should be a lot of fun. And then we're doing, as one, probably the most successful new opera of the past 10 years or so, that is again a 75-minute piece with just 2 performers that concerns, it tells the story about the journey of a transgender woman. And then our last performance is going to be Verdi's La Traviata, one of the most famous operas, big, has all the tunes, and we're going to do that in grand style.
Oh, gosh. So a person can go on your website
and
see your schedule, for one thing.
Yes, absolutely. operasb.org. And also, we have an app.
Oh, you do?
So you can, if you go to on your phone, either to the iPhone App Store or the Google Play Store, or anywhere where you can download apps, you put in Opera Santa Barbara, our logo is right there, you download it for free, and then you get the news. Anytime tickets go on sale, you know about it. You know about the next show. It's a lot of exclusive content, videos. It's a lot of fun.
That is great. How long have you had that?
We launched that in September.
Oh, gee whiz.
Yeah. We're having a lot of fun with that. My staff, I have some really great folks on the staff that are really handy with technology. I mean, I'm good, but not as good as they are. And we're having a lot of fun with that, loading, videos and all that. We hope that down the road it could be interactive. So there's going to be in some contexts, in some performances, maybe outdoors, we can have some simultaneous program content simultaneously with a performance. And so we're trying to bring that interactive aspect into our performances as well. As you can tell, we've had a lot of time to think about these things and come up with new solutions.
That is brilliant. Well, good for you. So now back to your website.
Yes.
So let's just say a person goes on there, they're hearing this interview, and they're saying, man, I want to support them financially. So I'll bet you have a Donate Now button on your website. Yes,
we're a 501c3. Something that some people may not know is that, sometimes there's this discussion that a lot of people have. Let's say, what is the difference between opera and musical theater? There are a lot of answers to that, and it's a complicated answer, but it's also there's the simple answer, which I give, is that opera is a form of musical theater. However, there is also the tongue-in-cheek but not so tongue-in-cheek answer, which says opera loses money while musicals make money. So and for that reason, operas are presented only by nonprofits, because it costs so much to produce an opera that you can't make your money back from the tickets. So at best, an opera will recover 40% of the production expense from tickets. The rest is made up by donors who like the art form, like the company, like to give back to the community. So they make it possible for everybody to attend, because otherwise, if we had to actually price the tickets to break even, then very few people would be able to afford it.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and that's really good information.
Yes.
40%.
Yeah. So it's always, and that's has been my career, nonprofit performing arts and opera, and it's a great challenge. Keeps you up at night sometimes, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and what a worthy cause to support. That's wonderful. So I'll bet you have a story or two you could share with us.
Yeah, I mean, in my business, our life is about stories. We tell stories on stage through the show. We tell stories in rehearsal. We tell stories in the bar after the show. It's a storytelling community. And I've had a lot of magical and moving experiences, in my career with my colleagues. It's an incredible. The reason why I got in this business ultimately is because I just couldn't stay away from the theater. I couldn't stay away from the tribe. Something is happening all the time. But one story that I always remember is sort of has been really lodged in my memory, and every time I question whether what we do is really important or whatever it comes to my mind is many years ago at a different company, I did this contemporary opera. It's called Dead Man Walking, based on Sister Helen Prejean's novel and the movie with Sean Penn. Now, that's not a typical opera. A lot of the operas are, Italian, and they're sort of a little bit detached. But this one is very much of the here and now. And it's a fairly, it's a bold, strong piece. Starts with a double homicide and ends with an execution. So it's it's not for everybody, perhaps. But on the opening night, I was not conducting that show, so I was in the audience, sort of towards the back. And behind me, there was an older couple, probably in the late 70s or early 80s, and they were dressed like they went to the opera, with their, gentleman had his tux on, and the lady had a nice dress and all that. And so they're, in a way, what someone would tell you is not a typical audience for contemporary opera, right? You go to contemporary opera, you expect to see it. These were definitely the traditional opera crowd. And during this final scene, I heard sobbing behind me.
Oh, gosh.
And I turned around, and they were embracing and crying. So I thought, if we can do this, then this is really important, and we should really stick it out and do as much as possible. It's when it gets to people, when the empathy starts going, sometimes I say, art's role is not to make you feel good, it's to make you feel deeply.
Yes.
And so when obviously two patrons that are probably have been to the opera for the last 50 years, and mostly they've enjoyed Verdi and Puccini, come to a work that is so bold and out of the ordinary, and they are still sobbing in each other's arms, that means that the art form has something to offer.
Oh, gosh. That is a beautiful story. You folks use volunteers?
We do. We do. We have a great many volunteers. Our sort of volunteer corps, most of what they do is they help out with patron receptions after the show. They help out with intermission events. They help out with artist hospitality. Recently when we did our show at the Granada and we had the opening night reception over at Carlitos, the volunteers' job was they were the crossing guards, get the patrons there. And we really rely on them. I mean, anything from that to sometimes our volunteers help us out as what we call light walkers. When the lighting designer is designing the lights, and you need to have people moving on stage, because you can't have the singers there all day. So we need some volunteers to come for an hour, and they, say move to the left or move to the right to focus the lights. So light walking is another opportunity. And one of our most valuable body of volunteers are the volunteers who are actually hosting artists in their home. Because opera doesn't just come out of a truck and a bus. It doesn't arrive in town at 5 p.m. and play at 8. We actually rehearse these things anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So although most of our cast, we try to use as many California-based artists as possible, obviously most of them don't live in Santa Barbara, and therefore you know about housing and hotels in Santa Barbara. So if it weren't for our housing donors, our hosts, the company just couldn't exist. So we have a lot of help from the community, and we embrace anybody who wants to be a volunteer in any capacity. We'd love people to come in and meet us. We're a lot of fun.
I was going to say, I bet you're a fun group.
We throw a great party. We're actually known about that as well. And we'd love to have more people come in and get to see what we're doing.
So once again, a person can go on the website, I bet you, and find out how to be a volunteer, figure out what they want to do.
Absolutely. And all our contact information is there. I'm pretty sure if you click on my picture, you can get my email. So there's plenty of ways to contact us.
That sounds good. So what about collaborations? You do a lot of collaborating, I would imagine.
Yes, we do as much as possible. Obviously, the artistic collaboration that we just had with State Street Ballet and the double bill And we look forward to having them with us also for La Traviata, that includes ballet.
Yeah.
But we also we do collaborations outside of the realm of the arts. For the well, it's not exactly outside the realm of the arts, but sort of we try to connect with organizations that don't have an obvious connection, like the ballet. We partnered with the Mariachi Festival of Santa Barbara when we brought the mariachi opera here, and then we are also now in discussions with Pacific Pride, and we've reached out to SB10 to do enrichment programs around the opera as one, about the transgender experience. And so we try to connect with people as much as possible, open doors, make connections with, the arts are over here and the world is over there, but we're trying to bring the two together.
Yeah. That is wonderful. Kostis, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And thanks for your wonderful work, blessing so many people in this community.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thanks for being on our show. And thank you for joining us on 805 Focus, and we'll see you next time.